What do you think of when you hear this term Zen Master? A wise old man with the answers to all of life to all these questions? A deadly ninja shrouded in mystery? But in reality, you get an ancient teacher that majored in Buddhist studies. And in this documentary, we'll be specifically talking about one of the most famous Zen masters, Hakuin Ekaku. Over the course of this video, we will be covering 3 different topics. Who is Hakuin Ekaku, the history of Zen Buddhism, and the essence of Zen in Ekaku's works. All these topics we will be discussing are for the goal of answering one main question. How was Hakuin a reflection of his time period, or more specifically, of 18th century Japan? So let's begin. Hakuin Ekaku was born in the year 1685 within Hara, Japan, which is a location that is now known in the present day as the city of Numazu. He was a Zen Buddhist, or more specifically a Zen master, which basically means a Buddhist priest who has dedicated years of their life to studying Buddhism, as well as sounding 1,000 times cooler. And as a Zen master, he acted as a teacher, an artist, a calligraphist, and a writer. Today, Hakuin Ekaku is a highly regarded figure in Zen Buddhism, as he was generous enough to extend his teachings past not just the temples, monks, and monasteries, but instead brought it upon himself to educate folks from all walks of life. His biggest claim to fame, however, has to do with the fact that he single-handedly revived and revolutionized an entire sect of Zen Buddhism from the brink of death, known as the Rinzai school of Zen. To fully understand this, however, we must take a deeper look into the history of Zen Buddhism itself. Buddhism is a religion that originated in India over 2,500 years ago by Siddhartha Gautama, also known as the Buddha. The form of Buddhism that Hakuin revolved his life around was Zen Buddhism, a branch of Buddhism that first originated in China in the 6th century. Zen Buddhism was first introduced in Japan during the Nara period in the 8th century. However, it was during the Kamakura period during the 12th century when the first Zen school arose, known as the Daruma school. Over time, the Daruma school split and developed into 3 modern sects of Zen, the Soto, Obaku, and Rinzai schools of Zen. However, from the 14th century onward, the Rinzai school gradually declined in popularity and nearly became a piece of history, until Hakuin came around and revitalized it in the 18th century Japan during the Endo period. This resurrection of the Rinzai school of Zen is one of the main reasons why Hakuin is seen as a reflection of his time period. A critical part of Japan's Endo period is characterized by a large rise in the enjoyment of the arts, culture, and religion, which Hakuin made significant contributions to through his works and teachings for the Rinzai school. Not only did Hakuin reflect the Endo period, however, but he heavily influenced it through the sheer significance of his revival of the Rinzai Buddhism. His written works and koans are also definitive proof as to how he reflected his time period, but to understand them, then you need to know about the concepts regarding Zen Buddhism. And let me tell you, this is when the documentary gets extremely confusing. Zen is a very difficult topic to discuss in a documentary format, which you will soon come to realize after listening to my abhorrent explanation. In fact, even after hours of research for this video, I still cannot confidently say that I even have a basic understanding of Zen, but I'll try my best to attempt an explanation at the very least. Okay, so the essence of Zen is big on intuitive understanding, on just getting it. Philosophizing is a frowned upon concept in Zen. Its goal is to understand the meaning of life directly, without being misled by logical thought or language. And if that makes 0 sense, then you're in the same boat as me, but let's just try and get through this together. Zen is something that a person does. It's not a concept that can be described with words, and to understand it, it must be experienced. So researching it through conventional means and learning it through a video is physically impossible. Due to this, Zen often seems very paradoxical, and it makes its very nature practically unexplainable and almost nonsensical. Let me give you an example. Hakuin's most famous work is a koan. What is a koan, you may ask? Well, basically, it's a Zen riddle, but its purpose isn't to be solved with an explicit answer. Its goal is to cause a shift in one's thinking through the process of solving it, and this shift of thinking is basically a form of enlightenment. Anyways, his koan is roughly translated to English as this question.
2 hands clap and there's a sound. What is the sound of 1 hand?
So, how do you even go about solving this koan? How do you produce a sound using just 1 hand? Do you snap your fingers on 1 hand? Maybe the answer is just silence since you need both hands to clap? All these are reasonable statements, but ultimately, what's the solution? If you think to solve this koan using the logical questions that were previously asked, then you've completely missed the point. It means you're treating this koan like a question, and the answer for the question is irrelevant. You shouldn't be asking what the answer is, or if there even is an answer, that's using logical thought. To have truly obtained the solution is through solving the koan itself. The solution is not a solution in a traditional sense. The solution in this case is achieving a paradigm shift, a change in how you think. You cannot rely on logic or reasoning to come to this conclusion. You must realize this conclusion through sudden intuitive enlightenment. This is the concept of Zen. It is a concept that is impossible to reasonably explain because the principles of Zen are not built on reason. Hakuin's koan reflects this core Zen value. Its goal is to invoke a sudden understanding and bring you one step closer to enlightenment. You see why I say this is confusing? Anyways, another contribution that Hakuin made to Zen that is much less confusing was his Song of Zazen. The term Zazen describes the act of Zen meditation, so basically the song revolves around the concepts of Zen Buddhism, although it's much more reminiscent of a poem than the song. For the sake of time, I'm just going to try to explain the first line, which is,
All beings by nature are Buddha.
in Buddhism, there is the belief that everyone is innately Buddha, the word Buddha meaning enlightenment or enlightened. So basically, everyone is both enlightened and connected, as everyone is Buddha. All is one. However, the average person just hasn't awakened their enlightenment or has achieved nirvana. So the purpose of Buddhism and Buddhist practices such as meditation is to awaken their innate knowledge and truth and to unveil their enlightenment. This is just a very simple explanation obviously, but the point is to show that Hakuin's Song of Zazen is riddled with Zen teachings, as well as his famous koan. His Buddhist works reveal how Hakuin is a representation of his era, as it was during the Endo period where there was a major rise in popularity for Zen Buddhism and its knowledge. So, to reiterate, you learn about how Hakuin Ekaku was a Zen master who taught all people from monks to civilians, and single-handedly saved the Rinzai school of Zen from dying out. Learn about the history and origin of both Buddhism and Zen Buddhism, and how it developed over time within Japan to form 3 different Zen schools, Soto, Obaku, and Rinzai. And finally, learn about the other nonsense, that is the essence of Zen, and how it's reflected in the works of Hakuin, including what is the sound of one hand, and his Song of Zazen. And to answer the main question of how Hakuin Ekaku reflected his era, his revival of the Rinzai school of Zen and his works regarding Zen Buddhism greatly reflect the rise of arts, education, and religion that characterized 18th century Japan. Thank you very much for watching this documentary, I hope you enjoyed it.